Why hello there, my hungry duplicants. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included Aquatic. Episode 2, Building a Farm and Mess Hall. So we now have water cooler, and the water cooler will allow us to make a great hall. Let's take a look at what makes the most sense next. I would love to get tidal power up and going, but we're not going to be able to build a tidal turbine until we have a few prerequisites. So as a prerequisite, we're going to need a rock crusher for basic brute force refinement. So let's get that next. I'm also going to put a storage bin here, and this storage bin is going to be a high priority storage bin for salt, which is a fertilizer for the soda cane. So we'll have a soda cane farm with salt nearby. And there we go. Now we're starting to farm. Now this 2-height area could be used for storage boxes, and it's right off of the main ladder, which works pretty well. And then I can start digging up soda cane that is in spots that are like inconvenient for me to get to, and replanting them here. Now there's a 10% chance that we get seeds off of every harvest, but then you don't uproot it. So we'll get more soda cane seeds as time goes on automatically. Alright, brute force is done. So with the rock crusher, a rock crusher is going to allow us to get refined metals in order to build the tidal turbine. We already, at the start, if I open this up, we found 2 different rubber gaskets, which are required for the tidals, so we could already get 2 tidal turbines. Now, the tidal turbines produce heat when they're active, so I'm going to start researching the tidal turbines, but what I would like to do with them is to hook them up to smart batteries and an automation wire to turn them off, because I don't need them running if there's nowhere to store the power. And that way we're not producing heat for no reason. Another thing we could do is to go after any of the buried item tiles here that we have around the map, and opening them up to try to find soda cane seeds. Because if we could find more soda cane seeds, we could further plant our farm. So there is one. I just excavated one. There's something there. There's something there. You know, so on and so forth. There's a lot of little spots everywhere where we might be able to get another seed. Yep, that was another seed. Perfect. So for now, germs seem to be mostly isolated, thanks to our like basic outhouse setup. Of course, there's only 3 more visits left in that outhouse, and once we have like a great hull to rehydrate and the farm, one of the next tasks that we might go for is either tidal power or plumbing. Either would do. Cheers. Alright, research complete for power regulation. In this storage bin, I only want to put salt in there, and I'll have that as a 6, so slightly higher than default. priority. And that way we just have the fertilizer relevant to the soda cane. The other thing I put in here is soda cane seeds. But I don't even really need to do that right now, because we need more seeds than we have. Now, looking at the bigger picture here, if I want a Great Hall, which is the other priority, maybe I'll set up the Great Hall. So thinking big picture here, I might move the storage bin for salt elsewhere for now. And I'll explain what I'm doing here in just a moment. I'm going to start to work towards a nature reserve setup. Which allows me to gain a huge morale bonus with very little effort. So that means I'm going to want to move my manual generator and my battery, as they're, like, fundamentally in the way. Nature reserves, for reference, are zones that that provide a 6 morale bonus. They have a maximum size of 120 tiles, and they can't have any industrial machinery and require 4 wild plants. Hey, Killadrix! Thank you for the raid, bud. What were you up to today? Oh, you know what? I could probably guess. Yeah. Oh, no. That wasn't what I was going to guess. Well, thank you for the raid. Playing some Quasimorph. Cheers, dude. Welcome to some Oxygen Not Included. We just got started. Playing Quasimorph blind. It's brutal. Yeah. You're a sadist. Is the nicest thing I could say about that. I wouldn't do it. But, you know, different strokes. So we're getting the, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the storage bin that we had for the salt here instead. So there's just a little bit more space. And now, with that, we have tidal turbine. Now, I did mentioning wanting to set it up with an automation wire, so I'm going to get a smart battery. And then I'm also going to then get automation wires. And the smart battery is going to require a supercomputer, so I forgot about that first. Let's get advanced research before we do anything else. So our farm is nearly done being built, except for the fact that we are just fundamentally missing seeds. And then this storage bin is going to be salt again at a 6. And the construction tasks for here I'll set up as a 5 rather than a 1, but the water aquifer I'm gonna have be a 1 except for the pitcher pump. So changing some priorities. Actually, I don't want there to be any reason for dupes to be here near where the water is. So what I'm doing now is moving our battery setups from here to there. Okay, we are going to require plumbing. I'm going to set this to a 7. Basically, you got to muck out the old house, or you're going to have some problems. To say it gently. Another thing we're going to need to do is to get a different spot for that ration box, because that spot won't work in the long run. If we want to enclose a nature reserve. And then I'm designing the central tube here to all have like mesh tiles and be open so that gas can flow freely up and down, which will help with carbon dioxide buildup and clearing. RCV for... Oh, they all got skill points. So let's talk about skill points. RCV is our farmer and a rancher, so they're going to get improved farming. Hat included. Avalka is our builder and digger. I'm going to give them digging first, because there's a lot of things you can't dig until you get super hard or super duper hard digging. But like demolition is far less important, so hard digging, hat included. And then Rainvac is our researcher, so research, hat included. Good stuff. And as they gain skills, they're going to demand higher morale. So if we take a look at like RCV, right now RCV has a morale of 4 and needs a morale of 1 for the skill point earned. As you can see, sort of. I'm like slightly in the way. So trying to engineer a colony that has the easiest morale, that doesn't take a lot of effort, is ideal. Meaning taking advantage to every possible room available to you. All of these lovely rooms. If you have to, scheduling downtime, although I highly advise you not to have scheduled downtime. That should be like the last thing that you do. And then also quality foods. Worst case scenario, you can always like massage your problems away. That's not also all that unreasonable, and that would be, you know, things like the massage table and whatnot. But I'd like to build a colony that is stable in that way. So now we have a supercomputer, and I'm going to drop the supercomputer over here. And that will allow us to do the smart battery. So next research we have queued up. I'm going to start towards smart home for the automation wires. And then once we have smart home and the supercomputer, I'll get the smart battery and hook up the smart battery to tidal springs with the tidal generators. But we're still working on the great room. Game's like, no, I'm not gonna. There it goes. Wasn't letting me build for some reason. Now there is sand here, so I got to be careful about where I build. I'm not going to be able to go any farther out than this. So this is like a very odd-shaped room, but this will be our Great Hall for now. Alright, printables. I guess I'm going to print the Pokespawn and then kill it, because I'm not about to start ranching it. Pokespawn shells, unless you mutate them, serve very little purpose here because there's so many other sources of lime. Normally in Oxygen Not Included, you would need lime for steel and stuff like that, right? Well, here, you get lime everywhere because you're essentially in like a coral reef full of lime. So the Pokespawn, I don't really see that they have a big need. Now, one thing is our breathability is rather low. So let's also get an oxygen diffuser. I'm going to stick that here. And I'm going to put that on a higher priority. I thought that the passive oxygen that we were going to get... although I haven't untapped one of the flue corals, I could do that here, but I wouldn't want it to leak. Or here. I'm looking to see if there's any, like, pressurized oxygen. There isn't any massively pressurized oxygen yet from flue corals. Because that's a good way to, like, solve your oxygen needs. There's a bit of a pressurization here, though. So if I created a ladder down there, like that, we could benefit from this flue coral being illuminated by this beacon and have a natural sort of source of oxygen that I don't work towards. But for now, we'll get the diffuser up so we don't suffocate. Are there algae sources in the DLC? So here we go. If you ever have a question, you can always hit the encyclopedia at the top right. And just look up stuff. So like algae is normally from dug up or from phyto oil. And you can process it through slime. Overgrow figs through a blum lump. Or bristleberries. And these guys are not part of this. That's part of the prehistoric pack. So, essentially, no. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, the sort of loop that you have for oxygen is not algae-based. It is flue coral-based. It's really easy. It's actually probably the easiest way to get your oxygen. It's like the least mechanically intensive. But it does mean that you might have some initial problems. Okay, so the Ox diffuser is getting built. And then we'll get the jumbo battery, which loses power slower. And get rid of the old battery too. Unfortunately, RCB is filling up a battery that's getting destroyed. Alright, there we go. We are producing a little bit of oxygen. When there's power. And I'll stick the manual generator on a 6. So we power it up. Now down here, we are going to want a ration box. We are going to want a water cooler. And then mess tables. And that's going to be our Great Hall. Air quotes, because it won't be that great. But it will work. And that's all that matters. And if you take a look at the oxygen, it got thin. And there's a bunch of different ways to solve this. But yeah. Another easy way to solve it would just be to open up any of these pockets here. So we could do that as well. And let me set building on 5 default, not 1 default. There we go. Alright, research complete. So that should be interior decor, which is for flower pots, lamps, and lights. And then we're heading towards automation wires. Alright, the priority for all of this is set to 1. And then this will be set to 5. Yeah, that looks right. Perfect. Supercomputer is coming in. And that will allow us to research sound amp, which is up here, which is for the, gives us the smart battery. Additionally, oh, this is too small. So if I, excavate, yeah, this is going to be worth it. If I excavate 2 digs here, and I'm going to change the priority up to 6, this will become a research room, because a research room's requirement, or a laboratory, I should say, is an efficiency bonus for 2 science buildings and no industrial buildings. And now, this has hit minimum size, so these structures are now more efficient. Easy peasy. Alright, breathability is getting a little bit better. It's not awesome, but a little bit better. And I'm going to create a priority here to open up these areas, just for some easy access oxygen. And I'm just looking at the pocketed oxygen here. So this oxygen down here is going to be another quick fix, and I'll just create the ladder as a higher priority in order to open this up, because this is a flue coral that is actively producing as a result of the fact that it's got a beacon creating light nearby. And if we take a look at the light overlay, the beacon's not always around it. But what I could do is I could, once I get down here, open this up, possibly drain some of the water in here, depending on how voluminous this is, to lower the water level so the beacons are, on average, closer to the flue corals. Or just increase the odds that we have beacons near this wild flue coral by just knocking into this area and having these 2 beacons be able to go left-right. The salt water is so pretty. It is indeed. With all the, like, dissolved minerals and air bubbles, they really did a great job at animating water for this. It's so simple and really pretty. What the hell are you doing there? Well, I guess we're having some sushi. I've no idea where that fish came from. Like, truly, I've no idea. How do we even have a fish here? Did someone swallow a fish egg and just... I don't know. Chat, do you know? I'm confused. There we go. So now all of this breathable oxygen is going to be able to flow up. If we want it to flow quickly... So one issue is, like, we did just drop some random stuff down there, which is unfortunate, but oh well. I'm going to excavate a 2-wide, which means everything stored here will also go down. Ah, there was an egg in one of the pockets I emptied. Got it. No, we really didn't need to do that. It managed to flop its way in somewhere good. And taking a look up here, yep, we hit both those pockets. So breathability in the base is up, and it's only going to ever increase after this pocket gets to intermix with the rest of the base. And now I'm opening it up so that the beacon fry over here can move about. The beacon that was over here died of old age, I'm presuming. And if I wanted to lower the water level... No, I don't really want to do that. I'll just leave it be. Okay. Now I'm going to really focus on the Great Hall. because breathability's been mostly solved as long as we put algae in the oxygen diffuser. And for the oxygen diffuser, I'm going to do a quick mine here to get access to more algae. Now, these things are Slogo. Slogo are like non-hostile slugs that consume salt, but they consume an excessive amount of salt and excrete dirt. And they also leave behind mucin in their wake. And they molt into lime. But they consume 100 kilograms of salt per day. So they're about as salty as 4chan or something. So I don't intend to ranch them because that's just too much salt. It's just way too much. And salt is not really all that sustainable. But wild ones are fine. And the mucin is, alright. Mucin is a very viscous liquid that you can use for, like, water locks. So if you know, like, Viscogel. Viscogel fluid is way more viscous than mucin. And it has a much wider temperature tolerance. But it is a very high-tech liquid, right? You don't get it until much, much, much later. Mucin here, you can get pretty early on. And as you can see, mucin, its temperature tolerance is tighter, obviously. But they can, you can even, you know, you can waterlock with it, you can cook with it. You know, if you want to add it to foods, so on and so forth. Caviar, etc. It's not something I'm going to worry about right now. But the reason I mention it is just that having a bunch of wild Slogo that don't need to be fed 100 kilograms of salt every day is pretty handy. How goes the colony? So far, so good. Okay, so we did just get smart home. Now we can do sound amplifiers. And I'm just mining up the algae as a stopgap for oxygen. Because we're, you know, it's still thin. And we have this pocket of carbon dioxide that hasn't flowed out for some reason. It will in time. And there we go. Oxygen diffusers just got resupplied with 550 grams of algae. Should be okay for a while. Question I have for you guys is, what next project to undertake? Nature reserve? Which I don't think would take very long. Tidal power? Or plumbing. What do you want to see me do? And as you can see, the poll is on the left there. Right here. So feel free to vote. So we also have another flue coral over here that has a beacon, which means it's going to be a massive oxygen producer. And it would be great if I could access that. Yeah, just give me dirt. Please and thank you. And then, oh, we have a person down here. Recruit survivor 1 of 3. My duplicants found a survivor exploring the reef biome. She seems fascinated by the clampum. She offered to trade us 1 gasket and 2 flue coral seeds for 200 kilograms of its pearls. Well, I don't have any pearls, but okay. And at this point, all of the soda cane is now harvested. Or planted, I should say. Alright, ration box for all edibles. Get rid of the old ration box. And down here, we now have a mess hall. Now, the mess hall becomes a great hall if it has decor, and a banquet hall if it doesn't have mess tables, which maybe at some point we'll do. So if I add a little bit of decor in there, it gets even nicer. So I'm going to put a little flower pot here. And obviously it needs to be tidied up. It's litter on the ground is not so fun. Crusty Rhino, thank you for the resub. And Tavasker too, if I missed you. So this here is producing a lot of oxygen as well, because there's flue coral that has been illuminated, and then here too. I think what I could do as a stopgap to producing my own is to create like a ox tunnel like this, so that the oxygen here and here gets to flow around a little bit. And I'm not ready to pull the trigger on this, which is why it's undiggable, intentionally undiggable for now. But it's just like a food for thought for the future. Alright, looks like Team Nature Reserve is going to win. But I'm not ready to call it just yet. And then down here, this can't be planted, so don't plant that. We're going to need to uproot something to be planted. Uproot this Husha Cup. Actually, uproot this Husha Cup. And these do not produce floral scent. They're just decor. So they aren't going to harm RCV, who's allergic to floral scent. Alright, taking a look at breathability. It's looking better. Not perfect, but better. Certainly better. And now this is a great haul. Plus 4 morale. Sweet. It's ugly as sin, still. If we take a look at the decor overlay, all the garbage on the ground is kind of making it bleh. But, you know, it's better than it was. Alright, 10 seconds left on the poll. I already have a great haul. So let's go ahead and plant a nature reserve. That's what we all voted on. Alright, so the nature reserve I plan to use is 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 plants, but 4 plants here. And we'll use that for the reserve. And I don't know if I'm within my 120 tiles, but I could make adjustments pretty easily if I'm not. There we go. And those beacons are now free to float out about. I'm gonna lower the ladder a little bit. Radlocker, thank you for the resub. Gaining some athletics. I am going to put the water cooler on a 7. So when we eat, and I don't know if, what did we just eat? Okay, we didn't eat anything that was... Oh yeah, so here we go. We're eating salty sticks, I think. And as a result of the eating the salty sticks, we're going to have a thirsty modifier here, which is only negated by a water cooler. So we want to keep that water cooler stocked so that it can help us with our salty stick dehydration. And that doesn't really work until that water cooler is pumped. And Radlocker, thank you for the cheer too. So Krieg, you asked me if you can farm flue coral. You can. But I don't have the capacity to do it just yet. That comes later. Ramen Chef, thank you for the resub too. You're making me hungry. There we go. So we're starting to deliver water here. Not Brackeen or Squid Ink. Squid Ink. Breakfast of champions. Said no one. I'm going to pin algae. So right now we're at 0 algae. I'm going to pin algae to my my bar. So once we get these sound amplifiers, if I want to get a park, a nature reserve, we're going to have to research agriculture, which gives us the park sign. But to answer Krieg's question, that also gives us the wide hydroponic farm, but the wide hydroponic farm requires something glassy to be able to make, which we won't have access to for a bit. And they also excavated this for the purpose of storage boxes here eventually. But we really, I think, want to get this construction sooner or later because it keeps not ideal liquids out. In fact, someone didn't wash their hands and touch the pitcher pump because I only have one wash basin and they're getting through that checkpoint without. It doesn't actually spread to the water, I just need to disinfect it. But like, as you can see, things got germy, plus the oxygen diffuser. So you can kind of like de-germify things. This level of food poisoning germs is like insignificant, but I like to keep things clean anyway. Because once there's germs inside, you would need to move a Santa shell in there to really clean it up, or like a tepodizer, which is a real pain and massively temperature inefficient. Is obsidian a glassy material? So if you're wondering where glassy is, let's I'll just show you. So if we look up the wide hydroponic farm, and in the future, I'm only going to really answer questions that are immediately relevant to what I'm working on. Otherwise, it's like too distracting. But you can see that it requires metal ore and glassy. And glassy is diamond, glass, amber, or pearl. So it's pretty easy to look these things up with the built-in encyclopedia. I'm going to cancel the... What are the surface germs on this anyway? Oh, yeah, like 100. pivot to agriculture now so we can get the park signed sooner. And then once this is all enclosed, with the last 2 pneumatic doors, I'll know if I am within my tile maximum. So the tile maximum for a park reserve, or nature reserve, is 120. The park is 64. I intend to have it be a nature reserve. The 2 morale bonuses do not overlap. It's one or the other, not both. And it takes whatever's the better one. Open doors do not matter for the reserve. I had put that door in the wrong spot. Good job, me. Let's try that again. So once the last pneumatic door is built, I'll know if it's too big. Thank you for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included Aquatic, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. I'm not, however, looking for feedback. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow duplicates.